Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 109 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show and podcast. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today are my usual suspects of Scott Williams and Barry Stokes. Barry, where in the world are you today?
Not home today, as you can see by the background. Bishop Forton, so just north of you. So might pop in and see you later.
Yeah, you should do. You can come do the washing up while I put the kids to bed, mate. Really appreciate that. Scott, where are you in the world?
I'm at home, mate, as always.
You're not in a cuddly blanket or anything, or, like you're normally sort of like half naked and draped in a blanket at this point. So,
Sounds like your dreams,
oh.
mate.
He's still recovering from his 10K PB. But how are you, Scott, today?
Yeah, I'm absolutely shattered. If I'm honest, I am really tired. But yeah, we're fine. Yeah, playing five-side yesterday with no subs after doing 10K on Sunday was hard, but we're here, and yeah. How are you,
Yeah,
Alex?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Nice, and I'm excited to get stuck into the new season of FPL and now into the day to day. And today we're going to be getting used to the new teams and the formations and how they're going to set up. Basically, we're going to go through match by match and see if we can answer all of the key questions that need answering off the back of game week 1. We're going to do our usual differential draft, look at the FPL challenge, and talk about deadlines and captains. Usual chat. So don't forget to follow us on social media platforms, Pod, P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And then also don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our legion of over 50 subscribers on YouTube. What a life. Thank you to every single person who's clicked that subscribe button and gets the little icon alert every time that we put a new video up. And also don't forget to give us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast from and click the little icon button to get notifications. Right, let's start off with Manager of the Week, shall we, lads? And I think we need to have a conversation about artificial intelligence when it lets me actually click on it. There we go. Because top of the All in Football podcast mini league is the All in Football podcast team that was created by AI on Fantasy Football Hub. So we've got 91 points this week. Pickford in goal, Trent, Gabriel, Guardiola, Saka, Jota, Eze, Salah, Havertz, Muniz, and Isak, with a bench of Fabianski, Winks, Face, and Harwood Bellis. The only real fails on here were Pickford and Muniz, and I know why it's gone for Muniz because it's done it over the initial sort of first 3 to 4 game weeks. That's what the AI picked him for. So we've had a recommendation of no transfers this week. So Muniz with 2, Pickford obviously was a fail with 1 point going down to 10 men. And getting beat 3-0 by Brighton, which we'll have a conversation about in a bit. And I think Eze was pretty unlucky, really, not to get a goal. I don't think we need to labour it too much. We all knew the ref blew his whistle a bit too early, but whether it would have counted anyway or been overturned, no one really knows. But I think at the end of the day, he was a bit unlucky. But AI Baz, talk to us. What do you think? What do you think about this team?
I, I don't really like the team, to be honest. I think we've got too much money in defence. But that's just me. You know what I'm like with defenders. It's like only 4.5, don't go any more than that. Don't want to get nosebleed and go too high on that. So yeah, for me. But everything else, well, you can't knock it. We're at top of the league, joint top with Sam Danby Bailey. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, AI, it's the future.
Well, I'll look at Sam's team because he also got 91 points. So, congratulations to Sam. You did play a triple captain, though, Sam. So, in a tie-break situation, you played a chip. So, unfortunately, I don't class that as a full manager of the week, Sam. But actually, I should really because it's a bit boring if we are. So, well done, Sam. Raya in goal for 8 points. Porro, Gvardiol, and Dan Burn. Eze, Gordon, Andreas Pereira, and Mohamed Salah for his triple captain of 42 points. Isak, João Pedro, and Haaland, bench of Turner, Anderson, Vincent, Taylor. Set up really nicely moving forward, this team, I would say. A couple of City in there for the Ipswich game. Obviously, one of the big things that I think we need to be worried about with the pod AI team is no Haaland, but you set up without Haaland for game week 1. You kind of set up without Haaland for game week 2 as well, I'd have thought, because it's pretty difficult to get him back in without -4s and -8s, I'd have thought, considering how expensive he is.
I wondered how long it was going to take you to talk about minuses.
I'm not taking any. I've got Haaland. I'm happy with that. I've had a half decent start to the season. So I think I'm this. The pod team's 34k overall. I think it is. And I think I've started off about 1.5 mil. So that's a good start. It's a solid, not 5 million rank. I think I was like 7.5 millionth in the world or something after getting one last year, which was pretty awful. So it's a pretty solid start. Let's touch on that before we go through a couple of the game week stats. How was your first week, Baz? How many points did you end on?
61. So above average. I think all I'm kind of doing is making sure that I'm above average every week, trying to do that. That's my little game week tally. So if I've done above average, I'll be happy. Yeah,
If you're above average every week, Baz, you'll be in the top 5k in the world at the end of the year.
exactly
That's what
the
happens, nearly.
mindset I've got. So
Yeah.
so hopefully I can get that every time. But team wise, captain issues. I think quite a lot of the low scorers probably captained Isaac instead of Salah. And that's, if I did that, I'd be obviously a lot higher, as obviously Captain Obvious recommends. So yeah. So for me, I'm quite happy. I'm happy with my team. So going forward, I've got a nice rotation. The only issue I've got is Kwanzaa.
We'll discuss Kwanzaa. Yeah, we'll have to have a conversation about it when we get to the Liverpool game. Scott, your week 62.
Yeah, not bad. Steady away. You know, like I say, always happy if it's above average out. Yeah, especially when there is a lot of chips played on the first week. I think a lot of people do just go, actually, I'm just going to punt it and do a triple captain or a bench boost, and just have a bit of fun at the beginning. So actually, being above average is pretty good actually on the first week, without any chips played. And yeah, Kwanzaa is the one that was a bit sad. Obviously, only 1 point. In hindsight, could have had 6 to keep a clean sheet. But yeah, similar to Baz, quite like my team. I've gone early on a transfer. Just done it now. Yeah, quite happy with the transfer. The player I've got in looks really good and was one of the best players for his team at the weekend.
Well, we'll touch on what your transfer is. If you can reveal it when we get to the game, then that'll be really good to do. I want to give a special shout out to Jamie Vardy because somehow he's managed to be the bottom
I looked at
two.
this earlier. I looked at the worst team. I was like, has he ever played fantasy football? Has he let his child pick this team? Like,
I don't really understand. Haven't Jota Clue is last with 122nd place in the pod league with 32 points. With Pickford, Saliba, Anderson, he had double Arsenal defence for 12 points as well. Bowen, Gordon, Foden, Palmer, Pedro, Isak, and Watkins. So, I don't. He picked Branthwaite and Rodri were both injured. I don't really understand what's going on there, Jay. But still, hey, he's played it for years and he's still the bottom.
Yeah, is this that bad? My differential team's above him. Are you joking? So,
Is it? How many points did that get this week, Baz?
30, 33, something like that, 35, something like that. Yeah, and I captained Murphy as well over Madison. So, yeah.
I think Jamie's. He's shown some real steel there because he's gone without Salah or Haaland in both of his teams. But never mind. Hey, listen, thanks, Jay. He gave us a bit of a laugh there to start off with. Little shout out again to the FPL page, which is FPL Focal's page that he links with Fantasy Football Scout. FPL page is a really good tool that you can use in the middle of game weeks or during game weeks. It's incredibly simple. It sends everything out on a dashboard, and it gives you some really interesting statistics about the game weeks. For example, Isak was the top captain at 63.2% this week. 25% of people, or 24% of people, captain Mo Salah. Gives you all of the bonus points, goals and assists, and fixtures and deadlines. Give you a quick idea as well on expected data. So you can see here that off the back of the game week 1, Bruno Fernandes was top for XGI with 1.22. A couple of great saves from Leno in that game. Stopped him having some great returns, which I was disappointed with. He's got him in my draft team. Nearly had an amazing week in draft. Had a good week in draft, top of the league, but nearly had an amazing week if he'd have scored those 2 chances. It would be wonderful. Souček as well with that massive chance he missed at the end of the West Ham Villa game, 1.22 XGI. Trent at 106. All of that pretty much was expected assists. Jota missing that header was a big moment, really. Anyway, so it gives you an idea of these Visser and Matoma, Maddison, Jota, Salah all up on there as well. It lets you know about price changes. So there's been no price increases so far, which is surprising. There might be a couple tonight. I don't know. I can see how the most transfer players in a little bit further down, but Jadon Sancho's the only player to change price so far, and he's gone down from 6.5 to 6.4. And you can see the transfers in this week so far. Mazraoui's top with 278,000. It's Havertz, Jota, Salah, Saka, and then Bernardo, Welbeck. Welbeck being a good enabler, I think, starting for Brighton as well at 5.5. Haaland, Guardiola, and then Shock Xerxes as well because he scored a goal. So it gives you a good overview of those. So that's a good idea of what's happened so far this game week. So let's start off by going through the fixtures. Let's get stuck into this, shall we? So if it's going to let me click on it, let's start off with Manchester United against Fulham. Did anyone watch the game here on the screen? Man United, Fulham.
Yeah.
Do you watch it? So I watched it intermittently, and I didn't think we played too bad. I think the big shock for Man United was that Garnacho didn't start. Ahmad and Rashford did, and we played with Bruno sort of in a false nine. Any key takeaways from a fantasy football perspective for Man United, or of course Fulham, who had the Emil Smith Rowe start? Baz, any key takeaways from this match and any players to watch?
I think Man United defensively look a lot better. Obviously, I think that's because Casemiro actually looks fit now. So it could be worth a potential punt to have a Man United defender in, so or an Arna. So for me that would probably be a take on that one. Fulham looked the same again, good defensively. Leno obviously going to get save points from him. So yeah, Fulham got a nice fixture as well. Leicester at home, so obviously Leicester did really well last night. So we'll wait and see on that one.
You could see if you've got Fulham assets, you didn't really buy them for game week 1. You bought them for the really good fixture, and they've got now, haven't you? Anyway, that's sort of the reason you had them. Interesting to see that most of the graphics and diagrams in terms of average positions, when I looked at lineups, sorry, it's a bit clunky. This it had Andreas Pereira behind Smith Rowe, and Smith Rowe playing in a 10 with Traore and Iwobi starting. So it was quite interesting to see that that they didn't play like one of them on the left. They look like they're going to be playing both Pereira and Smith Rowe. And Smith Rowe looked like he tired, I think, in the game, got into some decent positions, but it was Pereira who was definitely the one who was providing the key passes. So, between the 5.5s, I think they're both relatively decent options. Pereira with more set pieces, of course, as well. And Robinson looked good as well. So I wouldn't be jumping on buying any of these players, to be honest. But if you've got them, you hold them. And I like the look of them. I think Bruno's probably going to continue to play there in the absence of Højlund. Scott, anything to add on this one before we move on to the next game?
Yeah, I think if you've got Garnacho, I wouldn't be worried about getting him out. I think he did enough. He did more than enough when he came on to warrant a start in the next game. I think he will start. Shocked, like you said, that he didn't start on this one. I think arguably the best player last season by quite far. Should have had a goal. Let's be honest, he missed an open goal.
I've got Garnacho, haven't I?
Yeah. And I watched the game with Cully, and I was right in his face when he missed that open goal. That was a nice moment, actually. But yeah, and Traore's doing Traore things, isn't he? He teases you, and then whips away the cupcake just before you eat it.
Traore is so classic, isn't he? I'm happy having Garnacho, and moving forward, I think he's still a good asset at 6.5. Keep an eye on the United defence. Totally agree, Baz. Might have some good value assets. Mazraoui at 4.5. Good value. Martinez 4.5. So let's see. Ipswich and Liverpool. So the big starting point for Liverpool was the starting lineup and the positions where everybody played. So you can see that Trent and Robertson both started, and he started with Van Dijk and Quansah at the back. He gave Gravenberch a starting midfield alongside McAllister. Is Endo injured or was he on the bench? I don't even know where. I know he's on the bench. So interesting. He doesn't seem to favour Endo. But Jota started up front with Szoboszlai behind and Salah and Diaz. So that seems to be. It was a lineup that was sort of predicted, and it went well for them. Poor first half, better second half. Quansah, you both got Quansah, right? You got Quansah, Baz. Or have you got me different? Yeah. My take on Quansah is very much that he's just a hold. I think he's still favoured over Canate, and it was a tactical decision for that game rather than anything else. He's not injured. I think he's still the preferred centre back, and I just wouldn't be wasting a transfer on him unless you're screwed because none of your other defenders are playing. But that's my take on it. I think he's just a bit of a wait and see. Seems to be preferred. What are your thoughts, Scott? Is this the guy that you've transferred out, or
Yeah, he's gone.
Oh, it's onslaught.
Yeah, he gone. Yeah, it was him or Barco. So I know we'll touch on that. Barco didn't play. Plays all pre-season, whatever. But we'll get to Brighton. But yeah, he's gone. My thinking was, I really wanted the player in that I brought in. And so it was out with those two, and it just gives me the opportunity at some point easier to get another Liverpool player in. I have two Liverpool assets in Salah and Jota, so if I, by taking Quansah out, it does free up that extra Liverpool player further down the line, so I don't have to start messing about as much. It was interesting. Slot, was very honest. He said, "Look, he's basically getting bullied in every physical alteration he's having. That's why I needed Canate on." And, they were a lot more assured. They did well. I thought Ipswich were always going to come out flying. First game in the Premier League in 20 years, is it? They were always going to come out like that. They weathered the storm. Let's be honest, Ipswich were the better team in the first half. But Liverpool did what they needed to do, and then the class came through at the end, and it could have been 4 or 5 by the end of the game. Let's be honest, but. That's the reason I've taken Quansah out. It was close, but it just frees up another asset further forward.
I think it's a great point, though, because when you look at Liverpool's fixtures, I mean, Brentford at home, obviously a good fixture anyway, but Man United away, which, historically is a hit and miss fixture for them, but they have occasionally really good results there, and we've done quite well against them recently, actually, at Old Trafford. But game week 4, Forest at home, Bournemouth at home, game week 5, Wolves away game week 6, and Palace away game week 7 up until the international break. I think game weeks 4 through 7, if you have 3 Liverpool players for those 4 games, you're not going to go far wrong. Jota, Salah, and then somebody else if you want. I mean, let's be honest, Trent's the guy, isn't he? Really, judging from that performance, everyone was a little bit. Was he going to do well or not? But he was the real standout for me, and I've got 2 directions with my team: whether I make space for him at the back or whether I ignore him basically for the whole of 7 game weeks and make more changes in attack. So I don't know which way I'm going to go yet, but he's definitely the man. But anything to add on Liverpool? And before I want your take on Ipswich and maybe some assets within there.
So I'll talk about what I've done with Quansah, because obviously I've got him.
Have you done anything with him?
Yeah, I've done exactly what you recommend, Alex. I just think he's a hold. I think he's preferred. I think it was just a tactical decision. So I've hold him. So my transfer, I know we're not talking about that team, was someone who played last night and he didn't look himself at all. That's Son. So I've transferred Son out, and I wanted a Man City asset. So I've got Mr. Foden back. So but he's going to start potentially with Savio potentially injured. Bob's obviously injured till December. So I've rolled the dice and gone, right, I think Foden's going to potentially start. So I've gone for that.
I want to get out. We'll touch on City in a bit, but also, have in your mind, I want to ask you about Foden versus KDB for that next fixture. But yeah, go on, carry on.
So Ipswich wise, defensively first half, they did really well. I was quite impressed with how they managed to block off most of all the attacks, but then second half, I think Liverpool just sussed them out a bit, and maybe the change of tactics by obviously having Canate and maybe won more duels. I don't know. Kwanzaa had 4 aerial duels and lost 50% of them. So still a bit harsh, but end of the day, it's worked. You could argue. Bit worried about obviously attacking wise for Ipswich. Didn't really like trouble Allison too much. I know Allison made a few saves, but I think they were quite comfortable saves in my eyes. So, but yeah, defensively, Ipswich defended really well in the first half, but then second half, I think they just tied and Liverpool just took over. So that's my take on it on Ipswich.
Yeah, in terms of actual assets for Ipswich, when you have a look at, if it lets me load my defenders, which it won't let me load my defenders, which is a little bit annoying. But I thought Greaves looked quite good in terms of aerial play at 4 mil. So he's just potentially a 4 million option. He's probably going to start every week. And then I think we'll wait and see on Leif Davis because obviously had phenomenal stats last year. Ipswich got an amazing run of fixtures from game week 3 to game week 9 or 10. So we'll really get to know Ipswich probably by the time we start wildcarding. So just watch them and check out their assets. I think that's the key for Ipswich. Arsenal Wolves. Havertz goal, Saka assist, Saka goal, Havertz assist. Very nice for everyone with those guys as assets. Take on Arsenal. Comfortable. I mean, I know Ryan made a fantastic save from Larson. That was a great save, wasn't it? But any takeaways from just routine victory, usual players to watch? What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I don't think there was too much to take away from it. The new boys didn't really feature in the game, so it was a good performance. Again, just need to get that first one over the line. Wolves at home is a fixture you'd probably won. And yeah, they did really well. Like you say, Ryan didn't have a lot to do, but when he did, he made that save and he made another good save as well in the game. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's the Premier League, isn't it? Like, there's always going to be, every team's going to have a chance. I think we've noticed that over the last couple of years. It's few and far between now where keepers haven't got to make at least one save in the game. But no, he did really well, and yeah, I think we had a bit of a conversation about talking to a very reliable so-called Arsenal fan who assured me that Gabriel Jesus and Trossard would be started this season because they shone so brightly in pre-season. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear now that Jesus is going to be a bench player again. I think he's going to trust Havertz in that new role that he played last season. And he seems to be pretty happy with Martinelli and Saka sort of either side of him as well. So yeah, nothing too much to take away from it. Just very solid start. Saka, it did hurt me a bit not having Saka in. He was originally in my team, but again, this year's better. We can't have everyone, so this is going to happen from time to time.
We're finding this, by the way, as we go through the fixtures. I think outside of the promoted teams, there were only 20 debutants, I think, in across the Premier League, across the rest of the 17 teams, and that started. Some came off the bench, but yeah, I found a lot of very as it was to start this season. Arsenal felt very as you were, carry on, rock solid. Your players perform; they're all in the same positions. I think Martinelli starting is interesting. I think, like you said about Jesus, I think that's he's probably my player to watch in that group. I thought last season he was going to be the season he kicked on and became a really top player in that front three. Yeah, so and obviously he didn't, and I was very wrong. But let's just see what happens this year with him. Defenders, yeah, across the board, same as whatever. Yeah, all solid. Ryan's obviously an asset, etc., etc. All great, all well and good. Baz, anything to add on Arsenal? And then I want your take on Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Well, Arsenal routine victory went for them. Usual suspects really to look out for. Wolves, I've tipped them for relegation, and I wasn't really shocked by the result, to be honest. I'm shocked VAR didn't get involved with the Undertaker choking Havertz on the floor, mascara. But yeah, I was shocked they wasn't involved in that. Compared to what Saw with his little headbutt. But yeah, ref's decision probably. But for me, Mosquera maybe for a 4 million option if you don't want to go for the usual suspects of Ipswich, Leicester, 4 million options. So that could be a potential one there to keep an eye on him. So, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really that impressed with Wolves.
No, the fixtures are awful. You stay away from them. But I think Wolves also, the fans did say they seem to think Mosquera is like their first choice centre back by the sounds of it. So he is one to watch at 4 mil.
He also apparently patted someone on the bum as well, I think, as well.
He moved Jesus out of the way by slapping him on the arse, I think.
Ah, right.
So, get this guy. Everton Brighton. So interesting game. I want to first of all start with your take on the penalty, Scott, because that was overturned. I don't really want to know if you think it was a pen or not. I want to know if you think there was enough in it to overturn it, considering the rest of the decisions we saw this weekend, because I think it was a soft pen, but to overturn it, for me, felt like it went against what they're trying to do. What did you think?
Yeah, completely agree. From what they've said on the outset, that they're going to give a lot more authority to whatever the ref's decision is on the pitch, and you saw that pretty much every other game, every other decision, apart from that one, really. So I think that was one of those where whatever the ref gave on the pitch has stood.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough in it, really. You could argue when you can argue a case for a penalty, and when you can argue a case for against a penalty. I think you've just got to go with whatever the referee, determines it as. He's on the pitch. He's close to it. He can see the whole situation. Yeah. I thought Everton were really unlucky there not to get it, and I can see why they were aggrieved. But my God, they were poor from what I saw in the highlights.
I think the statistics seem to think it was relatively even until like the sending off, but Brighton were probably just a better team. I mean, I think is obviously I've only watched the highlights like I think most people have on Match of the Day, and the highlights of Match of the Day show, other than the fact that Dwight McNeil somehow managed to hit the post from like basically an open goal. Didn't really have that many opportunities. Baz, I feel like you're a bit of a closet Brighton fan. I feel like
I do like how they go around the business. Obviously, they spent 200 million this transfer window, so they're pumping some cash out. But I like how obviously Brighton play and how they go around the business, as I just mentioned. Obviously, the new manager coming in as well. They backed him and gone, right, okay, who do you want? And he's obviously picked a few, and they've gone for the same philosophy as well, picking young players like Rutter and I can't think of any others off the top of my head. So, but yeah,
they got Minter, haven't
yeah,
they?
Minter as well looks really good. About it. He was obviously devastated. He had to come off with concussion protocol, but yeah, I think the penalty decision was correct. I think they should have overturned it in my eyes because Calvert-Lewin didn't place his foot where he should have really placed his foot. If you're looking at it in a biomechanics way, he planted his foot on Dunk's foot. If I was being super hypercritical, and it just looked like he didn't plant it where it should have been. So
but
that's my take on it. So
but the point I was making there, Baz, is not that, because I probably don't think it's a penalty either. But it was the overturning of the decision. That was the thing for me. Because I think there's a debate there. That was whether you think it's a pen or not. I think we're probably, but whether you think you should because is that not re-refereeing the game? That's the point I was making about it.
Yeah, they probably think he made a mistake because obviously he's stamped on him. I think that might be why they've done it, but it wasn't like an aggressive stamp. He like put his foot there and gone, "Oh, I've stood on something that's not right," and gone over. That's where I'm getting at with that one. But obviously, I'm in the camp. It wasn't a penalty, similar to the West Ham one, but we'll get onto that. But yeah, Everton wise, defensively looked shocking.
Oh, they're awful, aren't they?
I'm shocked that they started Keane. To be honest, I don't know if it's because he's ex-Burnley or what, and Dyche is obviously ex-Burnley, but obviously didn't. I don't think he managed Keane when he was but definitely didn't. But I don't know why they didn't give the Jake O'Brien. He started quite a bit when he came in. He scored pre-season as well, and is an aerial threat for how obviously Everton play. So yeah, I was shocked on that decision.
Well, Young's obviously got sent off, so they're probably going to play Holgate at right back now. So, Holgate, Keane, Tarkovsky, and Mikalenko. They've lost obviously Onana in the centre of midfield. They play Spurs next at Spurs ground. I'm just a bit okay. I'm not. I'm. Obviously, I know you say you've moved on. Son. I. I. I don't actually agree with you. I don't think he looked very good yesterday from what I saw. But I also I'm going to give him another week because of that fixture. That's literally the reason. I think Spurs are
I
going
just
to
think
absolutely destroy him.
Dyche will just turn it around and actually go high, super defensive.
Yeah, maybe.
That's my take on it. He doesn't want another 3-0 hammering.
Yeah.
Dyche is obviously very clued up on that, being an ex-defender himself. So yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, these will probably solid it up, and it'll probably be maybe a 1-0 or a 2-0 win for Spurs. I'm assuming, but I don't think it'll be as high as that.
Brighton's fixtures are interesting. United at home, then Arsenal away, so not easy for the next two. So again, I think we can sit and wait and watch the next two. You hold on to Barker and put him on your bench and leave him there anyway, because you never know, he might come back in. He seemed to play all the pre-season, so Hinchelwood in for him was a really odd, no one could have seen. Weird, weird start to be honest, because Hinchell was not even a left back. It's really weird. Obviously, a tactical thing for the manager. João Pedro didn't start up front. He started behind the striker of Danny Welbeck. But he seems to be a key player there. But Rutter's just been bought, so I don't know about his minutes. Interesting. Minter started, looked good. Let's not forget about Matoma. Minter might have to, depends on the concussion protocol, miss the United game. I think it's 12 days you have to give him after a concussion. So depending on after a medical assessment, I think we just need to keep an eye out on that one if you are a Minter owner. And Welbeck looks good value up front as long as he stays fit, which he obviously never will. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. But Brighton are probably of all the teams, I think they are probably the team to watch for me over the next couple of games against United and Arsenal, because after that point they've got Ipswich at home and Forest at home game week 4 and 5. I mean, they're two fantastic fixtures. And if Brighton look good against United and Arsenal in the next 2 weeks, I think game week 4 we could be making moves for a couple of Brighton assets. And Steele remains in goal, doesn't he? Because I think Verbruggen's still injured.
Yeah, even though Southampton want him.
Do they want Steele? Do they?
Yeah.
Well,
They
let's go
also
on.
want Ramsdale as well. So, but yeah.
And let's be honest, Baz, they just don't want McCarthy.
No, because we'll talk about it.
We're honest now, because let's be honest. Well done, Newcastle, for getting a result, but what a gift of a goal. Great finish from Joe Linton. Isak owners, I am an Isak owner and an Isak captain, are very lucky to get a return out of that game in the end. The way it's all gone down, really lucky to get an assist, gifted in the end, and I will take that with both hands. Yeah, I don't think there's much we can really analyse in this game, other than Southampton looked all right, but they were against 10 men. Newcastle were at home, but they had 10 men. Anything to want to mention on this one, lads, or should we?
No, what I'll say really quickly is I was expecting really good things from Newcastle this season, and yes, they're not Man City and they're not Liverpool and they're not whoever, but those teams go 1-0, they go 10 men down to Southampton at home. You don't really see a difference too much. They got battered by Southampton, like battered, like they were hanging on, and it's Southampton still at home. They struggled more than, in my opinion, they should have done in that game. And that is a bit concerning when you think about that. I feel like the fact that they went down to 10 men is everyone's going, oh, look, they still got over. Yeah, good result, 3 points first game. But I'd still be a bit concerned if I was a Newcastle fan. For me, against a newly coated, not very strong, in my opinion, Southampton team, you still should be controlling the game a lot more than they did. I think they had 17% possession in the second half. Not good enough for a team with aspirations for the top four.
The problem is you keep playing Russell Martin's team who love possession. So probably most of them, 77.8% is probably around the defence, like he did for Swansea. so for me, I think they did well to hang on, and I think tactical wise, Martin, they're going to struggle scoring goals. They need to sort that out. I think Armstrong had a few chances, but Pope looks really good in goal. So
Pope solid. Hall obviously played at wing back with Livramento on the other side, so their options at 4.5. I think Livramento is probably the more solid one. I think Lewis Hall didn't look like great. Howard Bellis, 4 million option for Southampton, played, seems pretty solid. Obviously got a yellow card. When you're looking at moving forward a little bit as well for both teams, obviously Armstrong started up front with Ben Brereton Diaz. Brereton Diaz looked pretty sharp. I mean, he also looked like he'd been shot when Shah tickled his face, but
I'm sure when he fell on the floor.
I mean, I literally don't understand how. I mean, they both did the same thing, but whatever. The one who cries about it gets the sympathy, and the other one gets sent off, don't they?
Yeah,
but-
I'd have booked him for the shoulder barge to Shaw's back, and then booked him for simulation for diving, so he should have been sent off.
Oh, absolutely. And then Gordon, Isak, and Murphy playing up there. So yeah, let's keep an eye on Newcastle. Again, everyone who's got them, Newcastle is going to hold them for Bournemouth away anyway, and we'll see what happens next. But obviously, not captainable based on that game. 19 shots Southampton had in that match, 4 on target. I think that says all about their striking options, doesn't it? Forest against Bournemouth, 2 pretty lucky goals from both teams, I think, here, really. But actually, generally speaking, it was pinball for Semenyo, wasn't it? Didn't he bang it against Murillo? The guy who cleaned it, felt it.
Came back up and went in or something.
But Chris Wood, owners, and I'm one of them, was really hoping for a return in this game, and got it. So it worked out really nicely. In terms of lineups and key takeaways, and Bournemouth have just signed a striker, haven't they, from Portugal?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wait and see if he plays. I wouldn't hold my breath on Semenya starting up front again. I think Iraola is obviously quite a good coach, because I look at their team and I just kind of think, are you really that good? Look at your names on paper, but he's got them playing still half decently. But yeah, there's not really many other shouts on Bournemouth. I wouldn't have thought there. Newcastle at home, Everton away, Chelsea at home, Liverpool away. Can't imagine anyone's buying any Bournemouth assets anytime soon. In terms of Forest, they've got a couple of good fixtures. Sells obviously starting in goal, which was one of the big debates. Who was going to be the goalkeeper? Gibbs, White, Hudson-Odoi, and Alanga all started. Danilo broke his ankle. So that's a tough one. See who's going to start in central midfield for them. Now I think who came on after 15 minutes from Ryan Yates, club captain Yates, didn't he? Nearly scored. And Chris Wood came off for Awoniyi after 72. So probably just a hold again for Wood. One of the only ones I had a debate was maybe going Wood to Mooney's, but I'll probably just hold him back the transfer and see if I've got any bigger fires. Anything to add on this one, Baz, before we shift on? I can't imagine you do, Scott, either on this game. No, getting a shake there from Scott. Baz, anything before we move on to West Ham Villa?
No.
Yeah. West Ham Villa. So Villa were an interesting side to gauge who was going to start for them. So their lineup was Luca Digne started over Maatsen, which was interesting considering Maatsen, they spent a bit of money on him. They played a back 4 with Cash at right back, which isn't what Emery normally does. Conser and Pau Torres in the centre defence. McGinn, Tielemans, Onana who's a new signing. Morgan to replace Douglas Luiz. Morgan Rogers started in the 10, and Leon Bailey as well started, which was obviously a big thing for a lot of players. And Ollie Watkins played up front, came off for John Duran, who looked obviously, I think, better than Watkins, and Watkins looked a bit tired. Anything on Villa before we talk about West Ham, Baz? You talk about Villa, and then I'll let Scott obviously talk about his boys.
I think it was quite a sluggish performance. I was impressed with Tielemans. I think he kind of like stepped in Douglas Luiz's shoes and kind of like looked like he was bossing the midfield, to be honest, for me. And he took, obviously he's decent at set plays as well, as we know in his Leicester days. So I don't think they're going to miss him that much, actually, compared to what I actually initially thought. Rodgers had some good chances as well, so obviously that was quite nice for myself being a Rodgers owner. Watkins, as we probably thought, I didn't think he was going to start, but I didn't think he'd be that sharp anyway. But Duran coming on and scoring looks an handful. But obviously he's not going to obviously start. They're not going to put 2 up front. But Maatsen coming on looked really good as well, giving him a lot of width. And the other player that came on, who came on for McGinn, was it?
I don't know who Ned.
Oh, Ramsey.
Oh,
Ramsey.
Ramsey came
Yeah.
on. Yeah, she did,
Ramsey
didn't he?
looked really, really good and sharp when he came on as well. So, but yeah, they got a decent squad there, to be honest. Now, I think they need it as well, especially with Champions League. So yeah, I'm quite interested in that. And a nice little 4 million budget defender with that young Serbian lad, right back. He played quite a lot of pre-season. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. So yeah, he'd be a nice little 4 million potentially defender.
Again, we're all going to just watch out the Villa game against Arsenal at home. I can't imagine anyone's going to buy any Villa assets. But game week 3, Leicester away, Everton at home game week 4, Wolves at home game week 5, and Ipswich away game week 6. So I think there's going to be a quite a big move towards Aston Villa assets, whether it be for game week 3, but if not, then maybe if people wildcard in game week 4, or just waiting for the international break to see if anyone gets a little bit sharper. I think we need to keep an eye on Aston Villa as a team that we're probably going to be looking to maybe invest in the next 2 or 3 game weeks. Scott, just a little bit sluggish, really. I think with it, whether or not maybe a couple of people, Antonio thrown in, but Bowen, was he a bit not ready for it? Paqueta, what did you think of West Ham? Did you think they were all right?
Yeah, it was a weird game. See, Villa started very strong. Onana getting the early goal, and then I thought West Ham then dominated actually for the next probably like 20-25 minutes of the game. Thought it looked pretty decent. Not probably as an FPL asset, but I thought Rodriguez in the centre of the park looked really good, really solid. Edson Alvarez kind of role that he did last season, he looked really decent there. But yeah, not what they would have wanted. Obviously, first game for the new manager, but again, you've got to take that into consideration as well. Still getting them going. One thing I will say, and I think it's one, I like mentioning my ex-Leeds boys. I thought some of them looked really dangerous when he came on. He wanted the ball. He looked like he had a lot of confidence. He looked like he was named player of the season in the Championship last season, and I think he'll be pushing for a start now. I don't think he's come to the club to be coming off the bench. So I can see him really pushing, probably kudos, I guess, for the start in that team. And then you've got Fulcrum, who will be all over, Antonio for that start top as well. So probably got a bit more competition for places especially when you look like Genduo Prowse at the start of the game as well. So they do look a lot stronger in all positions, but probably quite disappointed to not at least get a point from that opening game, I would say.
Let's just have a quick touch on the penalty. Your verdict on it, Baz. Just because again, you talk about overturn, not overturn. Is a pen? Isn't a pen? What do you think on that one?
It's the littlest touches. You could argue he maybe got the player first before he got the ball, but I don't think he did. So I think it was. It's a difficult one because of it was literally a little touch. So if you looked at it quite quickly, because I know they're trying to speed up VAR and not over ref it by going through multiple screens to see if there was any touch. But yeah, I can see why he was tackled from the side of the player. And usually when you tackle from the side and you don't get the ball, you wipe out the player. So I can see why it was given, but that's why I don't think it was because he touched the ball, but that was like really minuscule.
So again, you think not a pen, which I get. Do you think it was the right decision though not to overturn it and re-referee the game, or do you think it should have been overturned because it was? Oh, so yeah,
because it would have took so long for him to work out that he actually got the touch, and if you're looking at it where the ref was, and you're in the Championship, for example, it would have been a penalty. So, and without obviously going into that, and that would have been technically re-refing the game because of no technology in the lower leagues and non-league football. So that's partly why.
I think it's one of those that I really hate to see given because I think he quite clearly played the ball first and then just sort of on his follow through. It wasn't like aggressive. It just sort of, he did take him down, but it wasn't like a bad tackle. But again, I think with the ref, I don't want those over to, don't want them over to, if it's consistent, it is what it is. For me, I'm all right with that. I'm accepting of it. Scott, your brief take on it before we do our differential draft to break up the run through the fixtures.
I'm going to quote Arsene Wenger. I didn't see it. I was on my way back from Scunthorpe and I was listening to it on the radio. So and I never actually got around to seeing it. So I trust Baz.
Like it. Right, lads, let's do our differential draft, shall we, before we review the last 3 games of the weekend, Super Sunday and Monday. Barry, talk us through the scores from game week 1 and who is going first.
Oh, right. I thought you'd be talking about this since you're winning. But obviously you're probably doing your usual tactic. Start really well and then just
Fade.
do an Alex Rex Spursy. So yeah, uh, so Alex, obviously you're smashing it at the moment, 31 points. You're one behind Varley. So that's also good to know. So still got 7, Muniz 4, Jota 8, Doku 3, and Wood. Then it's myself, got 28, and then Scott, due to obviously the shocking display of panicking and leaving it under 1. When we did it off thingy, it was like, I don't know who to pick from a goalkeeper under 1. I was like, yeah, you've got all these decisions, and then you thought that was actually my team, so that was quite funny. But yeah, I got 10. So Scott goes first, then me, then Spursy. I mean Alex.
I think I had like 2 players that started. I mean, it was
Yeah, you
one
did.
didn't even
Yeah,
come. The keeper didn't even play at all. I think they had Jesus didn't even,
yeah. Is it
came on and got a yellow. Cool.
So,
Well, I've done a bit of preparation this time, so this should be a bit smoother. I'm gonna go. You've got to go City. I think we're gonna be very heavy City as a guess. Home to Ipswich is the fixture, and it was debating it, but I'm gonna go for Doku because he's in under 5 and he's found the 10 alive.
I'm gonna go for Bernardo Silva.
That makes my decision very easy. I'm going for my under 10 of Kevin De Bruyne.
Cool. And I'm gonna break up the Man City a little bit. I think Liverpool got a nice fixture actually, and I am going to go for Luis Diaz on the 10.
I'm going for my forward. I'm going for Nicholas Jackson.
Just stole mine, Baz.
Oh, sorry.
You seem to do this to me quite regularly. I'm going to go for the other Diaz. I'm going to stick with Man City and go for Ruben at 3.9%.
Someone said Bernardo Silva, aren't there?
Yeah, me.
Oh, right, I'm gonna get me under 1. I'm gonna not do an under 1 keeper this week. So I'm gonna go under 1. I'm gonna go for Rico Lewis under 1 for Man City. Looked really good.
I'm going to pick my defender as well. I'm going to go for Akanji.
I think I'm going to go my under 1 as well and fill my boots with my 3-man City. And I'm going to go for Mr. Wonder Strike, Mateo Kovacic, 0.6%.
Good shout. No one's got any keepers yet, have they? Just to double check.
No.
No, cool.
No.
Didn't keep a clean sheet last night, but I'm going to go for Vicario, under 5 for my keeper. Nice fixture at home to Everton.
I'm going to pick my keeper as well. As I mentioned earlier, did really well on saves. Picking Leno.
Literally just took my goalkeeper pass. Literally about to pick Leno. Well, considering I don't need to pick a goalkeeper anymore because you've both gone for your keepers, I'll go for my striker. And I will go for Cunha against Chelsea at home at 2.2% because the rest of the striking options are all a bit rubbish. And I like him as a player, so I'll go for him.
Yeah, striking options are a bit rubbish, as always, but Danny Welbeck at home to Man United. Brighton looked really good, and Danny Welbeck looked really good, and it's playing his old team.
Love scoring at Old Trafford. Love scoring at Old Trafford. Yeah.
Ooh, how much of a gamble do I want to do? Shall I do the Adam Tiori? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to go for a Wobie. Me under.
And an easy one for me, I think I'm going to go for Sells as my goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest. I think they were unlucky to concede against Bournemouth with the pinball. Should have been a clean sheet. And also they're playing Southampton, who had 19 shots and only 4 on target. And I think they'll struggle to score goals this year. So, teams, lads, Scott, read yours out.
Vicario in goal, Rico Lewis in defence, couple of midfielders of Doku and Luis Diaz, and Welbeck up top.
Very nice. Barry?
Leno in goal, Akanji, Bernardo Silva, and Iwobi in midfield, and Nicholas Jackson up front.
Now I've got Sells, Diaz, KDB, Kovacic, and Cunha. And I think we've been able to add these into this graphic. Right there. There are the teams. Very nice. I like this, Barry. This is good that you've managed to put together here. All these players. We'll put this up on socials as well. But let us know who you think has got the best team. And don't be afraid to vote for me, of course, as I am winning and I like to start the season well. Let's do Super Sunday and then Monday Night Football. Brentford against Crystal Palace. We have an Mbumo goal with a Vissa assist and another Vissa goal. I think he's got a goal and an assist in his last 3 games, Vissa, in the Premier League now. He seems to be doing really well. They didn't seem to worry about Ivan Toney going to Saudi. They weren't bothered about missing him. Yeah, Brentford Palace, lads. Let's come to you first on this one, Scott. What was your key fantasy takeaways from this game?
Key fantasy takeaways, probably that Mbumo and Vissa are not only underrated in just real football and whatnot. I think they're just really underrated on fantasy football. Like they did it last season. They kind of, Tony going out of the team. They've had to like reinvent the way that they play, and they were really critical to that. And they link up so well together. And it's like they're always those players that you kind of like keep an eye on, but I personally never seem to get in. They're such great draft players, and we talk about draft because they're such an easy punt to have. But yeah, they just look really, really good. I was really, really impressed by sort of how they went about the business again. I would say as well, obviously I hammered Palace, but I did say a bit of a caveat. If they lost Eze and potentially Mateta, I think they'd have issues. I think if them two stay, I think they'll be fine. And they looked pretty good, even though they lost the game. Thought Eze was great. Maybe you don't want that when he's your best player left at the football club when the transfer window is still open. But yeah, he looked really good. Obviously, really unlucky that the goal was disallowed. In my opinion, the right decision. The ref's looking, sees the foul, blows up, is what it is. And like you say, I think Jamie Redknapp was bang out of order. I think was it the ref's first Premier League game as well? It's like bloody hell.
It did
relax. And to be fair to the ref, he came out and he did what a lot of refs haven't done. If he thinks he's made a mistake, he's put his hands up. He's apologised to Eze. And I thought Eze took it really well. Actually, I think he spoke really well in the post-match interview about it. He wasn't salty, which I have a lot of time for. But yeah, if they can keep Gahey, Eze, and potentially Mateta, I think they'll be fine going off that performance. But yeah, my key takeaways: those boys and Mbumo and Vissa. I think they're going to be very important for Brentford and good assets, I think, as well.
Barry, your thoughts on this game and the key takeaways?
Similar to Scott, I think Brentford played really well. Usually you think of Brentford and you think of long ball team, but they actually passed through the lines and they, as obviously they talked about match of the day, they look really good and they look like Man City-esque. But yeah, I think Mbumo and Vissa, I had the decision, should I pick Vissa over Wood from a normal one, but obviously I went for Wood because of the fixtures, but it is what it is. They both returned, so I was quite happy on that front, that the gamble paid off with Wood. Attacking wise, Muniz as well with an assist, and Mitchell getting forward, I think he had a shot in the box as well. So they looked good going as wing backs, so that could be a potential pick there. But the only problem is you're probably not going to get clean sheets if Gay goes. But it might free up a potential 4 million option for a defender, or he might change tactics. I don't know how Glasner's going to set that up. Eze, it was incredible. Everything good came through him. So, like I say, like Scott mentioned, if he goes, then I do worry for Palace. But I said that last season when they lost Zaha. So yeah, for me, I'd look at potential wing backs for Palace.
Yeah, I agree. I like Munoz. Obviously, I had in my team. I think he's a good shout to have. I think Kamada looked like a good extra to the front three. I think he's obviously not an Elise player,
Also, we got any news from Mateta's injury?
I don't know. No, I've not seen anything. I'd be surprised if he starts the next one though, just because he just looked way off it, and he's only just
I
come back
feel
from the
like
Olympics.
I feel like he was just knackered.
He felt like that.
Watching
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I can't believe he started. I thought he might come on for minutes, but I was really shocked when I saw he started. Um, Obviously we've got the two goalkeepers, Henderson and Flecken, who are both. I mean, Flecken was on for some bonus, I think, before Pinnock's own goal. Even though he didn't look that strong, I didn't think, but he, made some good saves, 6 saves, I think. And then, yeah, Vista at 6 mil. You talk about underrated in fantasy football. I think Mbumo at 7 or Bumo at 7 mil is probably about right. Same price as Eze. That sort of bracket is sort of right. Vista at 6 with Tony gone.
Mm.
That's a really good third striker. And he's only 3.4% owned and Bumo at 4.5%. Yeah, I think they're options to look at moving forward. Again, they've got Liverpool away next, followed by Southampton at home, which obviously is a really good fixture, and then City away, and then Spurs away. So they've got 3 of the hardest fixtures in the league in the next 4, with one of the easiest in the middle. So it's no one's buying them in fantasy and using up transfers unless they're wildcarding in game week 4 and they're going to buy them just for game week 3 and take a week punt on them. But whereas when you start getting to game week 6, their fixture run from game week 6 basically to game week 13 is pretty good. So again, we're going to be keeping a really good eye on Brentford and their guys. I really like Kevin Schade as a player. I hope he stays fit. I really hope he stays fit because I think he is dangerous as well and could be massively, massively underrated in terms of the game. At 5.5 million playing up front, yeah, I think he's another player to watch out for. Yeah, totally agree on Palace in terms of the wing backs and everything else. Let's talk about Chelsea and City. Really happy to see Kovacic handball not given. That was nice. That was good. I was panicking when they started looking at it. But Erling Haaland laughing in the face of Kukurea with his chant after they beat England in the Euros final. Very, very happy to see him get bullied and Haaland score the goal. Kovacic with a worldie, Bernardo with a little assist off a Doku pass. Felt quite routine for City when I was watching it. I know Chelsea looked all right with their 45 players. What did they say? It was 115 charges versus 115 players. That's I liked
Yeah.
that. That did make me chuckle. What was your takeaways from this one? Let's start with Chelsea. So we had Sanchez starting goal, Cucurella, Colwell, Gusto, and Fafana. So no Badia Shield, no Disassi, no Chilwell. These guys who were played a lot of last season. Midfield of Fernandez, Caicedo, and Lavia, who looked quite good. He got good right up Lavia from the game. Nkunku did start, got 58 minutes, Palmer and Mr. Jackson. Your take on Chelsea to start with. Let's go with you, Barry.
Chelsea, I thought they defended actually pretty well. I know they conceded 2, but that's because Sanchez has got Poppadom wrists like Pickford. So yeah, obviously I own a Chelsea defender in Levi Colwell, and I thought he actually defended pretty well. The same with Fafana. So yeah, so I wouldn't be put off by having a Chelsea defender in my eyes. It's just the goalkeeper just lets them down. Maybe because there's 7 other keepers potentially going for his role. Midfield wise is just awful for Chelsea. I don't think they know what's happening. Starting obviously Enzo is a 10. It was just crazy. I'm making him captain as well, but I'm not going to touch upon that. Obviously João Felix potentially coming in as well. So that's going to be a nice see if he's going to be as a forward or a midfielder on FPL. So that could be good. But where does he play? Who's he going to take? So there's too many players there. They need something, and you've got Sterling obviously crying as well that he didn't get picked as well. But there's a lot of issues there. Defensively, I think it sounds because he's told Chilwell he can leave. So that could be a potential option for someone who needs a left back, such as Man United, maybe. So yeah, so defensively, I think they looked okay, even though Haaland like kind of shoved Cucurella off and did a great finish. But yeah, I think that's the only thing there. Jackson looked an handful. Took his goal quite well, even though he was offside. So that's why I picked him in the draft. And there was kind of like really no other strikers apart from like Wissa, but you're not going to pick him against Liverpool. So for me, I think forward wise looked okay with Jackson, and defensive looked relevantly solid.
Well, they should do really with that back four and then two holding mids, shouldn't they? Really, you'd have thought, and then Felix will come in for Enzo, won't he? That's where he'll play in that 10,
You,
and
you
Enzo will get
think
dropped.
Palmer should really go as a 10 for me, I think, but I don't know. I'm not Enzo. I'm not getting my P45 in 6 months' time. So
100 and something million quid. Anyway, but on that guy, Pedro Neto, I think he's not a bad player, of course, by the way, but it's just not worked out, has it really? And Neto came on and looked quite good. Scott, City, talk to us. You think I'm interested? So I've come to you about City. I want to ask Baz about De Bruyne and Foden, but De Bruyne started, got captain's armband, looked good. Bernardo is just an unbelievable player, isn't he? What a guy, what a player. City, talk to us.
Yeah, City just did City things, didn't they? They were just, they got the goal, which Hal went up really, really well. Until did a good pre-season. He just absolutely bullied Cucurella and just had that composure just to think the keeper. I thought that was the class finish. And yeah, they just control the game. They're just so smart that they know that they're not going to dominate a game for 90 minutes. And there's going to be periods where they need to, defend well, but also periods where they just need to take this thing out of the game. And it's exactly what they did yesterday. They just pass you to death, and they do it better than any other team on the planet. And like you say, when you've got players in there, because what they do as well is quite the opposite of what Chelsea do. Over the last few years, they've got this nucleus of a fantastic team, and they sprinkle one or two. They don't go mad. You get one or two new players in, just bolster that squad every year. By doing that, the core players remain, and they know how Pep plays. Watch it. You can't just keep throwing players in and just expecting them all to work. It just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good you are. So that them City players, they know exactly how to work. And like I say, Savio, I thought played really, really well. He had the Chelsea defenders on toast a couple of times, just saying, that old school wing play, just running by them, which I absolutely love to see. It's a bit like Mahrez back in the day. It was great. But yeah, City just really good. De Bruyne looks happy. Obviously, there was a lot of speculation about him going Saudi. He looks really happy now. And everyone was bigging up that Rodri's not in. Maybe Chelsea can get it. They didn't miss Rodri because again, I know we're talking underrated players. Kovacic, so underrated. Like he's not a you wouldn't class him as an exciting player. He's never been an exciting player, whether it was at Real Madrid, whether that be it when he was at Chelsea. But he does a job, and he took his goal fantastic, and he does chip in with goals every so often. And most importantly, he seems to be a player that Pep trusts. So really impressed. And I said earlier, I thought Lewis was really good.
Yeah, 100%. I love the tactics were great with the way they press, pushing Bernardo, then bringing Lewis into midfield next to Kovacic. I think they're such a machine, aren't they? So about De Bruyne giving the captain's armband, started looked good against Chelsea. Same price as Foden. What's made you go for the Foden over De Bruyne? Is it purely like last season's statistics or that form? Or even with De Bruyne playing central, what's made you go that way? So I'm interested.
it's a bit of that. I think every time Foden gets the ball, as well as Scott keeps saying about, he passes the eye test. I know De Bruyne does with his passing, but Foden he just glides past defenders. It's just so quality to watch. And with De Bruyne wise, he's so good by passing the ball, whereas Foden's got that as well. So I think Foden's more of a FPL asset because he's good at dribbling. He could potentially maybe win penalties on that front. Obviously, he can put crosses in the ball by obviously potentially probably going out wide because I think Savio is injured. So for me, that's why I went over it. And as I said when we were doing our draft for our pod team, I think De Bruyne's minutes will probably be managed more. So I thought Foden potentially on the the wider scale, by looking at forward a couple of game weeks, I think Foden will probably start more than what De Bruyne will. So that was the reasons why I picked that. But De Bruyne, as you mentioned, he did look good, but that's the reason why I picked Foden.
Around 8% owned, I think. De Bruyne is just such a good differential going into this week against Ipswich, especially if you're going to wildcard game week 3. Because I do agree with you on the minutes. I'm a bit more concerned about his minutes across the whole season, hence why you didn't pick him in our draft for that. My thinking is if you're wildcarding game week 4, then there's no Champions League before then. Probably De Bruyne will play all 3 of those games. Whereas if you wildcard in game week 7 or game week 8, again, maybe he's a good gamble for the beginning of the season. I do think over the course of the season, say Foden will play a little bit more. I bet I'd have been really torn on that if I was going to make that transfer. I don't know which way I'd have gone. I don't.
Yeah, I was quite torn up, but obviously my thought process was I want to obviously use my wild card when Arsenal's fixtures look unbelievable. I think it's from game week 11 or 12,
Yeah.
where it's just
Yes.
I just want to obviously Havertz and Saka for that, and potentially an Arsenal defender as well. I know I'm going to go crazy and have an expensive defender, but I think it potentially needs to be with them fixtures going forward.
Calm yourself down, Barry. Calm yourself down. Interesting starts for Spurs. So let's I'll do the Leicester team first. Hermanson started, Face and Vestergaard, where a lot of the 4 million options started. Then Ndidi, Fatawu, Winks, and then Dico Riva Buonanotte, and then Vardy, of course, having a party. What a guy, scoring the goal and celebrating, telling everyone how many Premier League titles he's won. I absolutely love. He's such a troll, isn't he? Mavididi came on as well, didn't he? The interesting for Spurs to see that Kulusevski didn't start. He started Madison, Sarr, and Bentancur. And Bentancur went off with an injury, didn't he?
Concussion, wasn't it? So he'd probably not be starting, sadly, because it looked pretty bad.
Yeah, he's got no luck, is it?
Porro came off, didn't he, with an injury as well, so that could be interesting.
Got to be watching Porro. Wouldn't be looking at buying him straight away at this very moment time, even though he scored a goal. Yeah, he did get a knock and come off with an injury. The back 4 that was expected, basically the midfield that was expected, but Brennan Johnson got the nod over Kulusevski. Anything to mention on Spurs, lads? They've got obviously a really good fixture with Everton at home, but then the fixtures don't look as good with Newcastle away and then Arsenal at home the 2 after. Would you be looking at buying? I think the key question is for the Everton at home fixture with the 2 fixtures following up. I'm guessing it's pretty much all hold. Obviously, I know you've sold some, Baz, but pretty much all hold is the rough advice, but don't buy. Any variants on that one, Scott? Because I know Baz is sell them if you think they look rubbish, because he did. So, which is fair. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't see any of the game, not seen any of the highlights. I was playing football myself, so didn't see that. Saw the result and whatnot, and heard the beginning bit on the radio, and it seemed like Spurs should have been out of sight in the first 20 minutes, by what I heard. But yeah, I wouldn't be selling anyone, especially when you got your five transfers. Get them built up. You don't. I think it's a horrendous decision by Barnes, by the way. Everton and at home to sell Son. I think it's one of the worst.
Only time we'll talk.
Yeah, but I think you've had a shocker there, mate, and you need to have a long, hard look in that hotel mirror tonight and really question why you've done that. But hey, you're a champion, mate. What can I say? Yeah. But no, don't need to go by how bad they are. I think, roll the dice for that Everton game. But if you're not looking good, those next couple of fixtures are tough. But yeah, did anyone? A quick question for you boys. Obviously, you said Son didn't look good. How was Maddison? I thought he would have a good season. Paul Solanke.
First 60 minutes, Maddison ran show. I was really impressed with how he played, to be honest. I was like, I've got him in my differential FPL team. But then he got a good assist, obviously, for Porro's header. But yeah, I was impressed with Maddison, to be honest, but he just can't do it for the full 90. So that's my only issue.
Yeah, it's I think it's difficult. Hopefully he keeps fit, but yeah, I think he's going to be in that 10 role running the game pretty well. And Solanke should have scored, to be honest, in the game, definitely. He missed a couple of chances. He'll be really disappointed not to score in his debut. I think he fits into the system quite well, and I think the person who seemed to be not benefiting from it was Son. but we'll see how they end up working together. Yeah, that it's a new system for him, and if he's stuck out on the left, I'm not so sure. But yeah, that wraps it up quite nicely, lads. Right, FPL challenge. So last week we had our best five aside. I think I got 40 points. So did Scott. I don't think you played it, Baz. You missed it.
I got 50 then.
You got 50. It didn't come up on the thing anyway. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So you got 50. But this week it's the all-out attack, and it's interesting to see what you can do. So I did a team quickly on here, and basically, if you have Erling Haaland, so it's 4 attackers and a goalkeeper this week. That's how it's set up. If you have Haaland, you can basically only afford a 4.5, 5.5, 5.5, and a 4.5 as your other attackers. So you either go Haaland and a really weak lot and captain him, or you can go for a much more balanced attack. So interesting to see how it's going to. I think they've really nailed the budget on this one, because it's actually a decision about how you're going to go about doing it. So yeah, I'd be interested to see. Have either of you boys had a look at your options yet, and how you would look at challenge?
I had a look. I actually did have a look. Yeah, I had a look yesterday, and I thought it was just unlimited again. So I was like, oh yeah, put them all in, and I was about 7.5 million over. I wasn't keen on this last year, but I think it's quite fun. So yeah, I do quite enjoy seeing what you can do with it.
Yes.
I mean, for me on this, it's difficult to build a team with Haaland, but it's the fear of not having Haaland if you want to obviously potentially get a high score. But I think there's potential other options. I think I'm probably going to go without Haaland, because 4.5, 5.5, 5.5 is not really that great. So
yeah,
for me, it's without Haaland on that one. But as you mentioned, the budget is spot on. Shame it wasn't unlimited. I think everyone would probably have the same team though. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting who goes for Haaland and who doesn't.
that'll be the debate. Right, so let's have a look at the deadlines then, and let's have a look at who we are going to captain this week.
I should say who we're going to captain, or we're going to triple captain.
Yes. I think we'll do the who are we going to captain if you don't have Haaland.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best thing, because some people don't have Haaland. Some people have Haalandless teams. So it starts with 12:30 kickoff. So the deadline's at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 24th of August. Brighton United's the early kickoff. Interested to see how that game goes. Brighton look good. We are who we are. Palace, West Ham, Fulham, Leicester, City at home to Ipswich at 3 o'clock at the Etihad. 5-0 right there. Southampton, Nottingham Forest, Spurs, Everton, and then Villa Arsenal will be really good. Really looking forward to that Saturday night football. Hopefully, I get the opportunity to watch that one. Then Bournemouth, Newcastle, Wolves, Chelsea, and Liverpool, Brentford, a Super Sunday. I think if you are a Haalandless team, you're probably a Salah full team. So probably a Salah, you'd have thought, if you're not on Haaland with that. Anybody else stand out to you really in terms of their fixture? Obviously, Spurs probably bit tepid after last night against Leicester. That might have been the other option. But anyone else outside of Son, really? Newcastle didn't look as good.
Another Man City player, if you got him.
Of course, yes, very fair. Yeah, very fair point.
Yeah, you could obviously look at that. As you mentioned, Salah. But yeah, I think that's really about it, to be honest. If you want, you could probably go Eze to be very different. Because it did look really good, but I think you probably have better options than that. But yeah, I think that would be Salah or another Man City player for me.
Yeah, or maybe Jota if you don't have Salah or Haaland. So Jamie Vardy, got to go for Jota really. Scott, any further take on that? No, it doesn't. It's just how it is, isn't it? Really. Wanted to quickly look at this graphic to finish off before we wrap up, which is something that Lego Mane did about captaincy matrix, and I'm personally banking a transfer this week. I know you've gone from Son to Foden. Scott, who did you buy for Kwanzaa?
Lewis.
Rico Lewis. So those are the transfers going on. I'm banking mine for this week. One of my big focuses and big plans for this first period of the season is to make sure I'm on the right captains for the best fixtures. So the graphic I've put up here shows the fixtures for Haaland, Saka, Salah, Watkins, Son, Palmer, and Isak. So really probably the top 7 captaincy options, and it just highlights the best fixtures for them each week. And interestingly, when I look at the first game weeks, I think Salah and Haaland obviously have the best fixture this week with Son, but Haaland is by far the best, really, with it being Ipswich. The week after that, we are really struggling for outstanding captaincy. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people move maybe to Cole Palmer if he looks good against Wolves for game week 3, or maybe even go to Watkins if he looks good as well, to bring him in for that great fixture run for Aston Villa from game weeks 3 through to 6. But I don't want to spend any more time on this. I just want people to have in mind who your captain's going to be. Take a screen grab of this if you're watching on YouTube. It'll just help you plan probably where your premium transfers are going to be up until the point of where you're going to wildcard. I think I'm pretty much going to wildcard game week 8. If not, then when Barry's talked about game week 11, 12, and those are my 2 options, I think, I'm going to be looking at. So I'm planning to try see where I'm going to need my funds and my premiums to be captaincy-wise, looking at this moving forward. So I can't imagine me not having Salah for Forest at home and then Bournemouth at home in 4 and 5. So that's my thought process at the moment. How do I get to Salah game week 4 or 5 without taking too many hits? I think at the moment I've got a plan to take 1 hit to get him in for that period of time. Obviously, Baz, how else was I going to go about doing it? This is the time of the season to take hits if you're going to be aggressive. Thanks for joining us, lads. Call it a day there. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, All4Pod, All4P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're trying to get more content up this season and be more active. Thank you to everyone who is taking part in our pod league, all 122, all 120 plus Baz having 2 teams, 119 plus Baz having 2 teams, us having 2 teams, and Jamie Varley having 2 teams. So 119 people, the over the 50 subscribers we've got on YouTube, and everyone who's taking part and contributing to our social media following as well. Give the YouTube video a like, subscribe to the channel, and also give us 5 stars where you get your podcast from. Baz, thank you.
Oh, one more question. Is it worth triple captain Haaland?
I've already done it.
I don't think it's a mistake.
Okay.
That's what I would say. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it because I like to use it later down the line.
It's just the fun for me. I like to keep it, but I don't. I do not think it's a mistake. I think Haaland looked good. I think Ipswich looked open and vulnerable in that second half, and I think Haaland will get 90 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a hat-trick in that game. So, yeah, I don't think it's a mistake. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll ask you this one question as well. So, if you were a non-Haaland owner right now, if someone offered you a certain amount of attacking returns, what would you take? So if someone said Haaland's going to get 2 attacking returns, would you bite their hand off and say, I hope that's what happens? If you offered him 3 attacking returns, and let's say you're not an owner, what would you say? What's the line? What's the line of people being happy and not owning him? Because for me, it's 2.
I think it's goal and an assist, and you feel like you've got away with it.
Yeah, I agree. Like I feel like I did with Salah against Ipswich.
And maybe just 2 bonus somehow.
Yeah.
I
agree. Well, we'll wrap it up there. And Barry, thank you very much. Enjoy your time at the hotel you're staying at. I won't give you a location in case people come and try and harass you for tips. And Scott, thank you very much.
Cheers, darling.
Go get some rest, babes. And thank you ever so much for everyone for joining us this week. And it's goodbye for now.